Welcome to The Truth is AI. Here, we dissect the pressing issues that define our world with depth, clarity, and curiosity. Today, we investigate the complexities behind what could be the most dangerous flashpoint in modern geopolitics, Taiwan and the South China Sea. These regions have become linchpins of high-stakes rivalry between global superpowers, raising the question, could these tensions trigger a larger catastrophic conflict? Taiwan's significance transcends its geographical and political status. It is a pivotal force in the global economy. As the leader in semiconductor manufacturing, Taiwan controls over 60% of the global supply and nearly 90% of the advanced chips that power everything from consumer electronics to military systems. This technological dominance places Taiwan at the center of international interest and geopolitical tension. For China, Taiwan is a non-negotiable element of its One China policy. Reunification, whether peaceful or otherwise, is seen as a vital step in restoring national integrity and erasing the wounds of past colonial humiliations. Yet Taiwan's flourishing democracy and strong alignment with the U.S. stand as stark contradictions to Beijing's authoritarian governance model, making Taiwan an ideological and strategic thorn in China's side. Beijing has escalated its tactics in recent years, increasing military activities such as incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, and staging high-profile military drills simulating blockades and invasions. Such maneuvers are supported by a wave of cyber attacks targeting Taiwan's critical infrastructure. The U.S., for its part, is tied to Taiwan through the Taiwan Relations Act, which provides a framework for defensive support. However, the cornerstone of Washington's approach lies in strategic ambiguity. This policy aims to deter aggression on both sides of the strait by neither endorsing Taiwanese independence nor allowing a Chinese invasion to go unchecked. This ambiguity, while effective for decades, is increasingly tested as Chinese aggression grows and global reliance on Taiwanese semiconductors deepens. China's actions are not merely regional saber-rattling, but calculated strategies to weaken Taiwan's resolve and international standing. As Taiwan finds itself caught between Chinese threats and Western support, the world watches nervously. This is not just about one island, but about global stability and economic security. The significance of the South China Sea cannot be overstated. It is a strategic maritime artery through which over $3.4 trillion in trade passes annually. Its seabed is believed to hold vast untapped reserves of oil and natural gas, further intensifying the competition for control. China's territorial claims here, encapsulated in its contentious 9-dash line, overlap with those of 5 other nations: Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. For decades, this body of water has been a zone of contestation, but China's actions have dramatically escalated the stakes. One of Beijing's most overt moves has been the construction and militarization of artificial islands. Originally justified as civilian facilities, these installations are now equipped with airstrips, missile systems, and advanced radar stations. They serve as both symbols of Chinese assertiveness and as strategic platforms for enforcing its territorial claims over international waters. The United States and its allies, standing in opposition to such unilateral actions, have pursued freedom of navigation operations, FONOPAs. These assert the principle that no single nation can govern international waters. These missions, while rooted in international law, are highly provocative to China, as they symbolically challenge its claims and practically demonstrate Allied readiness to counter Beijing's influence. Incidents of near collisions between naval vessels from opposing sides have grown more frequent, creating dangerous opportunities for miscalculation and unintended escalation. The South China Sea embodies larger issues of sovereignty, international collaboration, and the rules that govern global order. Should one nation be allowed to transform international waters into militarized zones? And how long can other nations push back before economic and military conflicts erupt? These questions underscore why the South China Sea matters not just regionally, but globally. Recent developments have only sharpened the tensions in both Taiwan and the South China Sea. Around Taiwan, Chinese military exercises are increasingly provocative. Beijing's forces have conducted drills mimicking economic blockades, naval sieges, and even full-scale invasion scenarios. Meanwhile, U.S. support for Taiwan has intensified, marked by an increase in arms sales and advanced weaponry shipments, including missile systems and naval frigates. Beyond military aid, Washington has encouraged its allies, most notably Japan and Australia, to deepen their ties with Taiwan, framing these alliances as efforts to safeguard democracy and free markets. In the South China Sea, China recently issued an updated territorial map that reaffirmed its expansive claims, provoking widespread outrage across Southeast Asia. In response, the Philippines, one of the most vocal challengers to Beijing, has fortified its military infrastructure and granted U.S. forces access to additional bases under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Adding complexity to these tensions is the rise of unmanned technologies. Both sides have developed sophisticated drone systems for surveillance and maritime operations. These drones lower the threshold for confrontation, allowing each party to assert its presence without risking human lives. Yet they also increase the likelihood of miscalculated skirmishes escalating into broader conflict. The geopolitical landscape grows more intricate and hostile, as does the likelihood of an incident sparking a crisis. How can stability be maintained when each side believes it is the one being provoked? The cost of a conflict in Taiwan or the South China Sea would be nothing short of monumental. Should China act on its claim over Taiwan through military invasion, the repercussions would ripple across the globe. The U.S., as Taiwan's strongest backer, would be forced to intervene militarily, dragging its allies, including Japan and Australia, into a potentially devastating regional conflict. Economically, the fallout from a blockade or outright war in Taiwan would cripple the tech industry, disrupting global supply chains dependent on semiconductors. Financial markets around the world would plummet, and the global economy could spiral into another major recession. The South China Sea presents a similar risk, as escalating maritime confrontations threaten the world's most vital shipping lanes. Beyond economic implications, these flashpoints represent a larger ideological contest, one between democratic states and authoritarian governance. For democracies, maintaining freedom of navigation and respecting international law are principles that underline global stability. Conversely, China's approach prioritizes state sovereignty over shared norms, symbolizing its larger authoritarian aspirations. Resolution or escalation in these disputes will set the tone for how disputes are managed or exploited throughout the 21st century. What lies ahead? Can the world steer clear of catastrophe, or are we edging toward unavoidable confrontation? Diplomatic efforts have not entirely ceased. The U.S. and allied countries have initiated multilateral discussions proposing codes of conduct in disputed waters, but Beijing remains skeptical of these frameworks, often dismissing them as attempts to undermine Chinese sovereignty. On Taiwan, some analysts advocate for a strategy of strategic reassurance, where both sides adhere to mutual restraint. However, such a policy faces obstacles as China grows more confident in its ability to challenge U.S. power, and Taiwan solidifies its democratic identity, making reunification with an authoritarian state increasingly unappealing. Tech-driven solutions also lend a glimmer of hope. Technologies like artificial intelligence could enhance crisis communications, helping de-escalate misunderstandings before they erupt into hostilities. At the same time, the deep economic interdependence between China and Western nations acts as a possible stabilizing force, at least for now. Yet, the growing militarization and mutual distrust leave little room for unforced errors. The margin for compromise is slim, and misjudgments could prove disastrous. Taiwan and the South China Sea are not mere regional disputes. They are the linchpins in a larger contest for global influence and stability. These tensions encapsulate the ideological, economic, and military dynamics that will define world politics for decades to come. Should the world tilt toward cooperation or conflict, the consequences will reverberate far beyond Asia. Diplomacy and innovation offer potential paths forward, but the escalating provocations almost guarantee that sustained efforts, or failures, will shape a defining chapter of the 21st century. The consequences will reverberate far beyond Asia. Thank you for exploring this high-stakes issue with us on The Truth is AI. If you appreciate this in-depth analysis of critical global topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content. Together, let us foster understanding and insight in a complex world. Stay informed and keep questioning, because uncovering the truth requires all of us.